Hey everyone, welcome back to Genai World News. We've got a packed show today, so let's get straight into it. Kicking things off with some major diplomatic movement. Both the BBC and the Financial Times are reporting that two of President Trump's top envoys, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, are set to fly to Islamabad, Pakistan, as Washington pushes hard for a breakthrough in nuclear negotiations with Iran. Now here's the twist. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi is already in Pakistan, but Tehran is insisting that no formal meeting between the two sides is actually on the schedule. So the U.S. delegation says it wants to, in their words, hear the Iranians out, but Iran is publicly pumping the brakes, saying there's nothing planned. It's a classic case of diplomatic shadowboxing, both sides circling each other, neither wanting to be seen as blinking first. The Financial Times notes that hopes are rising in some corners for a peace breakthrough, but the gap between Washington's optimism and Tehran's official stance is still very wide. This is one to watch extremely closely, folks, because the outcome could reshape the entire security architecture of the Middle East. We'll keep you updated as this develops. Next up, a story that's caused serious alarm in London. Both the Financial Times and BBC News are reporting on a leaked internal Pentagon document that raised the startling possibility of the United States reconsidering its long-standing position on Falklands sovereignty. The suggestion, reportedly floated as a potential form of retaliation for the UK not joining U.S. military action against Iran, would represent a seismic shift in the transatlantic relationship. Downing Street has moved quickly to shut this down. Number 10 issued a firm statement saying the sovereignty of the Falkland Islands is, quote, not in question, and reaffirmed the UK government's position that the islanders have the fundamental right to self-determination. As the BBC reports, the UK has held firm control over the Falklands since the 1982 war with Argentina, and any American wavering on that position would be diplomatically explosive, not just for London, but for NATO allies watching closely. Whether this memo reflects actual U.S. policy or was simply a pressure tactic remains unclear, but the fact that it leaked at all is deeply significant. London is clearly rattled, and this story is going to fuel intense debate in British political circles over the UK's relationship with Washington. Now to a disturbing investigative report. The BBC has revealed that convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein used properties in London to house his abuse victims. According to the BBC's investigation, these revelations are intensifying serious questions about why British police repeatedly chose not to pursue trafficking allegations that were brought to their attention back in 2015. Think about that. Police were reportedly made aware of trafficking claims linked to Epstein's London activities more than a decade ago, and no investigation followed. The BBC's findings are now putting significant pressure on UK law enforcement to explain those decisions. Epstein, of course, died in a U.S. federal detention facility in 2019 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. But the reach of his criminal network, including its footprint in the UK, continues to surface, and the questions keep piling up. This BBC investigation is likely to trigger calls for a formal review of how British authorities handled or failed to handle the evidence they were given. This story is far from over. Let's shift to some big market news now, and honestly, this one is exciting. The Financial Times is reporting that X-Energy, a nuclear developer backed by Amazon, surged a massive 27% on its very first day of trading on the public markets. So what's driving this? It comes down to one word: AI. The explosion in artificial intelligence and the data centers needed to power it is creating an almost insatiable demand for electricity. And nuclear energy, clean, consistent, and capable of running around the clock, is increasingly being looked at as the answer. X-Energy is developing what are known as small modular reactors, or SMRs, next-generation nuclear technology that's faster and cheaper to build than traditional plants. With Amazon as a backer and an AI-driven energy crisis looming, investors clearly see massive potential here. This debut is also part of a broader story the Financial Times has been tracking: Wall Street racing ahead of European markets, powered by a tech and energy rebound. Intel, for example, has seen its shares surge past highs not seen since the dot-com bubble era. The message from markets right now is clear: the AI boom is real, the energy demand is real, and investors are betting big on whoever can keep the lights on. Staying in the tech world, and the numbers just keep getting bigger. The Financial Times is reporting that Google has committed to investing up to $40 billion in Anthropic, the artificial intelligence safety lab. That's a staggering sum, and it underscores just how fierce the race for AI dominance has become. Anthropic, known for its Claude AI models, needs enormous amounts of computing power to train and run those systems, and Google is essentially bankrolling that expansion. This is a direct escalation in the AI arms race, with Google making absolutely sure it has a front-row seat and a major financial stake in what many believe will be the most transformative technology of our era. For context, Microsoft has poured tens of billions into OpenAI, and now Google is matching that scale with Anthropic. The battle lines in AI are being drawn with extraordinary sums of money, and the winners of this race could define the global tech landscape for decades to come. Now to a story that is generating enormous attention online. The BBC has reported that at least 10 people connected to sensitive U.S. government research have either died or gone missing in recent months. The BBC notes that relatives of those individuals are now speaking out, not just about their grief, but about the wild speculation and conspiracy theories flooding the internet about their loved ones' fates. These are real people with real families, and the BBC's report highlights how devastating it is for those families to see unverified and often outlandish theories spreading rapidly across social media, adding to their pain. Now, to be clear, the BBC's reporting does not confirm any foul play or coordinated targeting of these individuals. What it does confirm is that the pattern of deaths and disappearances has been noticed, that it involves people tied to sensitive research areas, and that in the absence of clear official explanations, the internet has filled that vacuum with speculation. This is a story where we need to be careful about what we claim and what we don't know. But the human cost, for the families caught in the crossfire of online rumor mills, is very real, and the BBC's piece is an important reminder of that. Let's wrap up today's show with two financial stories that are turning heads on Wall Street. First, the Financial Times and BBC News are both reporting that the U.S. Justice Department has dropped its criminal investigation into Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. The probe reportedly centered on cost overruns during renovations of the Fed's headquarters, an issue President Trump had publicly raised. With that investigation now closed, the FT notes this removes a potential obstacle to Kevin Warsh, widely seen as Trump's preferred choice, eventually taking over as Fed chair. And then there's this jaw-dropping story. The Financial Times is reporting that trading firm Jane Street has doubled its annual revenues to a record $40 billion. Let that sink in. $40 billion in a single year from a trading firm that most people on the street have never heard of. The FT notes that this figure actually surpasses the revenues of many of the biggest investment banks that once ruled Wall Street. Jane Street's performance is a stunning illustration of how algorithmic and quantitative trading firms have reshaped global finance. All right, everyone, that is a wrap on today's Genai World News. From Iran diplomacy to AI investment battles, nuclear energy stocks, and Wall Street records, it has been one of those days where the world simply didn't slow down. If you found value in today's coverage, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who wants to stay informed. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.